All right, Friday the 13th, part 10, Jason X. They are so lucky that this was the 10th one so that they could give it the X title and make it sound all cool and futuristic. Little confession here, I actually just recorded the entire review for this and my camera had stopped recording like 40 seconds in. So I talked for like 15 straight minutes about this movie and it didn't take. So I have to do it again. And this is definitely not the first time this has happened. But this is the first time I'm going to tell you that. So I'm going to be repeating myself. Hopefully I can keep it all straight again. I saw this movie right when it came out. It was the first Friday the 13th I had seen. And so I went into this coming off of Jason Goes to Hell, which I just did not care for at all. And I was so concerned because, here we were taking yet another, horror icon to space. We had Pinhead in space, we had Leprechaun in space, and now we were taking Jason to space. I don't count Critters because Critters came from space and then they went back. That'd be like saying Predator going to space or Alien. It's like they came from space. But I went into this. I was the only guy in the theater. I went by myself, and then there was one other guy. And that's usually my typical horror movie experience. I go to almost every one of these by myself. And man, did I just have a fucking blast with this film. I know I can take some things pretty seriously, but this is one of those movies where I'm just kind of like, if you don't like this movie, that's fine. I mean, you're always entitled to your opinion. But I just feel like people take this movie too fucking seriously if they don't like it. Like, this is just pure fun from beginning to end. This is that outside of the box Friday the 13th film that I can enjoy. Jason Goes to Hell is outside of the box way too much. This one is outside of the box, but it's connected enough to the Friday the 13th franchise. One of the things being that Jason Voorhees is in it a lot. I'm looking at you, Jason Goes to Hell. But also there's so many nods to it, like what constitutes as like the holodeck from Star Trek, as I call this Friday the 13th meets Star Trek. The holodeck type scene where they pull up the 1980s camp thing and the girls are premarital sex and smoking pot. That's one of the best lines in the whole movie. There's so many laugh out loud moments. There's so many funny scenes. There's so many great kills. I think this might have, I still have 2 more to go to refresh my memory, but man, this has some great kills in it. Way better than anything in 7 and 8. 7 and 8 barely have any. I mean, the majority of the kills in this are on screen. They look great. They're super fun. They're creative. They're inventive. There's something that you just want to cheer for when you see it. This is yet another entry in this franchise where you are just there to root for Jason and for idiots to die. So anyway, let's get into this movie. Number 1, this movie starts in hell. It looks sure hell like it. I'm just guessing this is a teeny little nod to Jason Goes to Hell. Then it inserts into Jason's body, but in that opening scene, it's pretty clearly hell. The composer of the first movie and the House franchise and many other entries in the horror genre returns for this one, which was surprising to see. I didn't even remember that. When I saw it on his name up on the screen, I was like, oh shit, he does the music for this? That's pretty cool. And it's vastly different than anything I've heard from him before. So it was cool. Jason, aka Wolverine in this movie, has now the ability and power to regenerate cells, which, was them trying to explain how he kept coming back and how he lived through it. So yeah, he went through the Weapon X program, I guess. Jason also has hair in this movie. You don't get much hair on Jason. You had it in 2. You had it a little bit in 9, the 2 seconds you saw of him in that movie. I'm going to keep bitching about that for the rest of my reviews, probably. And yeah, he has a decent amount of hair. It looks like a chia pet, though. Weird hair. And when they get close-ups of Jason before he becomes Uber Jason, it very much looks like Kane Hodder. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's just his eye and his face, like under here and whatnot. It just looks like Kane Hodder. Is the only time where I was like, that's Kane Hodder. Like the other ones, they did a really good job of all the makeup and whatnot, making him just look like Jason. But that opening scene when he's chained up and whatnot, it very much is clearly him. And I love how he takes a machete and he stabs it through like a solid steel door like this thick that's supposed to hold in, whatever the hell they're using. Cryostasis chamber uses, I guess, liquid nitrogen or something like it. But yeah, it's like this huge thick door, and he's just like, poof, and it goes right through. It's like, I'm pretty sure the blade would just stop or break, but whatever, who cares? There's 1,000 things in this movie that I could say that would be like, that wouldn't happen in reality. But who gives a shit? There's plenty of different, that's not what this movie's trying to do. Though, that being said, the ridiculousness of this movie being addressed. On the flip side, there's actually a lot of really cool, science in this movie as well. Like, groundbreaking technology that was currently, kind of pseudoscience at the time, but stuff that eventually could possibly become a reality. Like the little micro ants, they have nanobites now that they're trying to get. There's a lot of cool things in this movie that, I was surprised to see in here. Like, yeah, like that is something that they're trying to do, and that is something that could work, and that's this, and this is actually take a little bit of time and think out some of the science in this movie. Now, there's a lot of shit in here that's stupid, no doubt. But there is some things that I was just surprised to see in here. I guess hockey gets banned in 2024. That's a bummer. I like that Jason, even while frozen, seems to be able to cut an arm off of somebody. Falls over, takes an arm off. The humor in this movie is just on point. There is so many fucking hilarious lines, funny scenes. He just wanted his machete back. I remember that in the trailer, and that was one of those things where I was like, oh, is this gonna be like too much comedy? And then when I went and saw it, I was like, oh no, this is fine. This is funny, and it's okay. My favorite line in this whole movie for sure, and the one that stuck with me, pun intended, is the one where the main captain gets stabbed through through like the ribs, and he's like, it's gonna take a little more than a poke in the ribs to put this old dog down, and he stabs him through the other side, and he's like, yep, that ought to do it. I seriously died in the theater. I laughed so hard at that scene. I thought that was the funniest shit, and it's always funny to me every single time. I also think it's interesting that this girl ended up saving lives for 450 years. Like, Jason couldn't be stopped. There wasn't anything anyone could do about it. And then she comes along and freezes him, and no one had to die. Like, eventually the whole planet died, so, it was mankind that ended up being way more destructive than Jason. But it's funny to think that, because she froze him and was frozen with him, that no one had to die by Jason's hand on Earth anymore, ever again. The next people to die were in space hundreds of years in the future. So she was able to stop him from killing anymore. And I thought that was an interesting little thing. And they also mentioned that he's killed over about 200 people in this. And in the last movie, it was 83. So it's supposed to be a little jump in time, and I guess, I don't know. In the last one, he goes to hell. So I don't know, and then it kind of starts in hell here, and then he's, it's 10 years in the future, or however many years in the future. And he's killed like an extra 117 people. Yeah. We got a BFG mention here for any Doom fans out there. It was funny to hear him talk about, you got the BFG, and you got the big fucking gun. That was awesome. And then as far as like kills go in this movie, I never know if to count the whole destruction of Solaris as kills. Like Jason kills the driver, or the pilot, obviously. Eddie crashes into Solaris, and Solaris completely blows up. Who knows? We know at least 60 armed guards are waiting at the door, so there's at least 60 people in there, but I'm guessing there's probably like thousands. So you want to add that. This definitely is the highest body count if you add that. The CGI in this is dated. That's one of the problems with older CGI. I feel like we're at a time now where like these newer movies, I don't feel like most of the CGI in these newer movies is ever going to look dated. They're getting to a place now where it's kind of like, it's so good, I don't think we'll ever look back and be like, oh my God, we used to think that was good. Like, no, it's good, and it's probably always going to be good. But these old movies, man, whoo, do they age poorly because of that. You see scenes and you're like, ooh, that looks really bad. And yeah, this is definitely no exception. There's also no bikes in the future. One of the people is like, what the hell's a bike? I was like, I don't have a bike, really? I don't believe it. We get the robot versus Jason fight, which I think is just hilarious. Yet again, everything in this movie is hilarious to me. That being said, I totally understand when someone says they hate this movie. They're just like, nope, too much. I totally get it, because that's how Jason Goes to Hell is to me. Jason X is a lot of people's Jason Goes to Hell, and I totally understand. Same thing with Uber Jason. I just think it's hilarious. I love the look of him. It's so insane, but it's just fun. It's just funny to me. God, not even in the future can black people live in horror movies. And there's so many breakdowns in logic. Like, how did this happen? How could this have happened? How did Captain Brodesky save them by, they blew up this way and Jason's flying at him, and then somehow he comes in from the side? Like, what do you do? Bank off of the thing? It's silly. He must have had little, air propulsion stuff on his tank there. Good thing they both survived the blast. With all that fire that you can't have in space. But yeah, I mean, seriously, how fucking fun is this movie? If you're not laughing like 20 minutes in, 10 minutes in, and for some reason you haven't seen this and you're just like, you're sitting there and you're just like, is this going to get better? It's like, if you're like 10, 15 minutes into this movie and you don't like it yet, like, you're not going to like it. Like, this movie has a very even tone. It is goofy from beginning to end. It's self-aware. It never tries to take itself seriously. It has a lot of fun. It pokes fun at a lot of things, that other films had done, and I just adore it. Another film, I just stopped counting kills. I don't know. As I said, it's 2-second Google, so it doesn't really matter. Favorite kill in this movie is, I said this in my last video, it's one of my favorite kills of all time in any horror movie ever. It's also my favorite kill in the Friday the 13th series. The liquid nitrogen face smash. Come on. Even if you hated this movie, that fucking kill is amazing. It is hilarious. I was in the fucking theater like, holy shit, yes! That was incredible. It's so good. It's so good. And my hottest chick is KM14. I like the droid. But every girl in this movie is fucking hot. For real. Like, every girl that steps on screen in this film is very attractive. So they definitely upped the hotties in this movie, especially the hollow, the camper girls who like premarital sex and drugs. Anyway, guys, all right, I'm out. I have Freddy versus Jason queued up, and I'm going to go check that out right now.